Okay, so the reason why I have an arrow going here from G to E, because that's if we wanted to play the next position up. And that was the way I used to solve this. Oh, I want to solve it simply. I just want a rule of thumb I can use. Yeah, I can always go to the next position up. So let's look at that in 1-4-5. There's the next position up. It also works in minor. So if we have E, we want to go to the next position up, and we want to go to its second minor here. So here's 1 is E. If we want to go to its second minor, we can go to an E minor shape. That's all that means. But down here is really a G minor shape. If you want to play it from up here, it would be like this. Okay, well, a little vibrato attempt there. So that's the way that works. You can always go an octave up and everything. But it's important before we move to today's chart, which is the great chart for 18, I think it is. I want to talk about moving up and down in shapes. So if we have an E shape here that starts on the A string, these are strings. These are the string you're playing. Don't worry about numbers because we're talking about the letters here. And you know the relationship between those letters tells you if it's the high or the low E, right? So we look at this E, you know, on top of its A, you know it's the low E. Okay, if the E is on the top, well, there are no E's on the top there, but you know that's the low E. So you know what string it is. You know what string we're talking about. No matter what note you are on a string, it's the same string. That's the rule. So the E shape, okay, the fourth of E is A, the fifth of the E shape is C. So we're going to have 5√3 here and then 5√3 here. Because of the tuning third, now we have a different shape A, but it's the same shape when we go down from the E to the bottom string because there's no tuning third, so it's P4, same shape. Okay, another example right here. So it's 1, 4, 5. Here's the 1 is E in the EAC. So it's 1, 4, 5, EAC, 1, 4, 5. Same thing there. Okay, now in this particular case, the 5, I'm doing the raw numbers 2, 5. Root is the 5th. Okay, in this C shape. Okay, this appears to be wrong. Okay, my bad. We've got 2, 5, 7 here. The 7 is just darkened for the pentatonics. We're not doing the root as if it was an A shape there. It's 2, 5, 7 E shape there. And then we have 5√3 for the 1 E shape there, just like that one. And then we have over here we have root 4, 6. The 4 and the 7 are darkened. So I mixed myself up there. My bad there. Now let's go to today's chart. Da, 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 da. Alright. And today's chart. Now we went through this. We know what that's about, right? Chart 418. Open capo half position chords using modal 7th chords. This is a great chart. It's a revamp. A lot of you have seen this chart before, but we've got obviously a lot more knowledge about all this, you know, and you'll see things. Even a regular triad, just look at it once you've been playing long enough, you can see it differently, you know. So we've got a lot of information and knowledge to apply to the same chart, which is the CAGED modal charts. Okay, the C, A, G, E, and D. And one thing to remember about, first thing to look at in this chart is the C box is easy. C shaped C, D minor shaped D minor, E minor shaped E minor, E major shaped F. Now what does that mean? It means in the C box, I guess we'll capo up here. This is where your fretnut is. In the C box, C, D minor shaped, D minor, E minor shaped, E, but now take that E shape up one and bar it, E shaped F. So here's the real deal E. Okay, so that's why it's an E-shaped fourth there. G-shaped fifth, obviously, a G shape, and A minor shape. So that's the first thing to know about this chart. Now, we look at, so everything's easy in the C chart. We still haven't gotten to the crux of today's lesson. So 4-parent pent scale. Remember one thing about, now this is part of today's lesson, sorry. So I'm just going to say that the D minor, or the second minor in the key of C, is the relative minor of the fourth. So the parent pent scale is the fourth pent scale. The fourth of C is what? Take the E shape, because it's not F. The fourth of C is F, but in pentatonics, the fourth of the C shape is the E shape. Okay? So the fourth of the C is the E shape. So here we have an E-shaped pentatonic parent. So our D minor is part of that pentatonic, that E-shaped pentatonic. Let's talk about it. I'm going to remove the capo. Okay? So we're going to be on the F here. That E-shaped F, remember? Our pentatonic on that F is... Y'all know what the E-shaped pentatonic is, right? Top of an S3S, then an S2L, and then a left justified S3S, but we got to warp it up. So it's 3 shorts, two longs, and then back to the top of the 3 shorts. It just keeps repeating itself. That's your E-shaped pentatonic. Within that pentatonic, we have a D minor arpeggio. Sorry. Now that root, is that root in there? It says 2, 4, 6. The 7th of the D minor is the root, so that's a D minor 7th arpeggio there. The D minor raw is still part of that pentatonic. There it is, leaving the root out. So the parent of that is our F, E minor, E-shaped pentatonic. When we get to the 5th, I don't know why this is a little darker than the other thing. Maybe I hit the wrong little color there. That's the 5-parent pent scale. So same thing with the E minor, but now its parent of the E minor is the 5 major. The parent of the D minor is the 4 major. So we know that this is going to, the 5th of C is G. We're going to have a G-shaped pentatonic. So the 3, 5, 7 is going to be within that G-shaped pentatonic. Here's its 7th. The 7th of the 3rd of Phrygian is the 2nd. Okay, so we've got that G shape. We've got the top of the 2 longs, and then we go into the 3 shorts. Then we go into the 2 longs again. But remember, the top of the 3 shorts, okay, like this, is right justified when we go back into the pattern to the 7th. So from the 5th to the 7th is a major 3rd. But now, because of the tuning warp, it brings it up one. That's why we can get everything in the C box there. So that's C box. 4 is A box rather. Okay, these are examples. Let's not get there yet. Here, 5-parent pent scale right here. So remember, our triad is embedded in that pent scale. So we've got, here's our triad.